Thank you for watching Honesty Unleashed with HUWHQ in the evening, talking all things entertainment, politics, religion, and of course, all things sports.
Hello and welcome into the second episode of Honesty Unleashed with me as your host, Hanky Q. And for those of you who may be new out there and listening to the show for the very first time, it is a show that is filled with, I guess at times you could say, controversial topics, which I know is a little bit tough to maybe listen to or want to follow, especially in the day and age we are currently living in. But before posting the first episode, I kind of thought to myself, what is the backlash I will receive for, I guess, putting myself or talking about certain subjects such as transgenders and, women's sports. And I was, a little bit surprised in a good way, of course, the feedback I got, because with one viewer saying, from Texas, they had texted me saying, I watched the whole thing. It was really good. Another viewer saying, hey, just finished it. Looks good, sounds good, and did not steer away from things. You're going to be a hit. Don't stop. Keep up the good work. Also, another viewer saying, I'm 2 minutes in and you killed it already. I love the content, which I got to say, thank you for your support. And if you stick around, it's only going to get better from here. Trust me. Now, enough of the pats on the back, because I have a full show for you to enjoy starting now.
I want to talk to you today about the use of the R word in your school paper. You see, the R word is very bad.
I know what you're thinking, and before you get your panties in a bind, I'm not talking about the R word that makes most liberals mad.
Retard!
No! God! Loud noises!
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
And the R word that I'm talking about is the word racist, which unfortunately people just throw out so nonchalant and flippantly and don't realize, hey, maybe this could ruin someone else's life if I just throw it out there and assume they're racist when they're clearly not. Now, I'm starting to think people are just unaware of what some words actually mean, or use a few brain cells they have in their head to say, maybe I should do a little research on my own, other than think, I seen that on a TikTok or Facebook or some other social media. So yeah, it must be true. But in fact, it actually isn't. Which brings me to the point, if I'm being honest with you, the problem with some kids in America is they don't know how to use these, which is a cell phone that unfortunately people think, you know what? Hey, I just did this stupid dance or I don't know, challenge or whatever it is that they're doing in today's world that, you know what? That is good enough to post on the internet. Well, it actually isn't. Things are better left off the internet if you just mind your own business and, actually live your life, go to work every single day and just talk to people like regular people. You don't have to post everything on the internet, but that's a story for another day. We'll get back to the topic at hand here. Now, the video I'm about to show you is of, I don't know, seems to be 15 or 16 years old. I don't know exactly how old the young girl is, but the video I'm about to play is what I assume is of a young girl attempting to act inappropriately and then has the audacity to call the people in the back of their video racist for no apparent reason. And the only thing I can think of is, unfortunately, these people are white. That's the only crime that they're committing here. But we'll take a look at the video and then we'll discuss it after. Sorry if you didn't want to watch that video. Unfortunately, it was a little bit hard to watch because she seems to be a very young girl trying or attempting to do what they call, I guess, is a twerk, and you move your rear end back and forth or up and down, whatever they do. I don't know. Think it's stupid personally, but that's the way that this world goes, and girls are taught and think it's cool. And then they say, let's upload that to TikTok because multiple people would want to see it and I'm going to get followers. I don't understand in today's world, even though I'm part of it. I guess I got to live with it. But I thought to myself, what in the world does the word racist even mean? So I decided to look it up, and here's what the definition is. Racism is a belief that groups of humans possess different behavioral traits corresponding to physical appearance and can be divided based on the superiority of one race over another. It may also mean prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against another people because they are of a different race or ethnicity, which, gotta say, she's basically doing exactly what this says, and she claims that these people were being. So, because you have a color of skin that is not, I shouldn't say unfortunate, but you had no choice in it. You were born white, and now a girl decides, hey, I want to post this video and show the world that I'm talented, which she's not, because I can, I guess, call it twerking, which is just a horrible representation of you being inappropriate and trying to be, I guess, sexual. I don't really know. This is a weird world that we live in that we think, oh, this would be good enough to post on the internet. I've said that multiple times. But anyways, what in the world do you do in a situation like that? Because it's like, look, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them behind me. I wouldn't want them in this video where a girl is doing something that kind of seems a little bit sexualized and she's putting it out there for everyone to see. So now why would I want to sit in the back of that while I'm being peaceful, minding my own business, and you didn't ask me for your permission to say, hey, that's not something that I really approve of. And one thing is, I don't even want to be in it, let alone my kids. So stop playing this game where if you do something like that, you're automatically a racist. It gets disgusting and it gets tiring and old for people all around, no matter what color you are. With that being said, don't go away. We've got a couple callers who are going to speak on the subject and just going to hear about what they have to say on this. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. How's it going, Ollie?
It's pretty good.
What's your thoughts and opinions on that? Right or wrong? What? Give it to me straight.
So, is it wrong? I don't want to say it's wrong, but she does look young. And so I feel like she's also a kid with the other kids in the pool. And the comments were throwing me because being black, I feel like we're taught to act differently, or I was taught to act differently around white people, to act more.
So hold on.
Together.
So you're saying you're black. You're coming off of this as you're a black person yourself, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So proceed.
So with everybody in the comment section saying, oh, this is so ratchet, this is so ghetto, yada, 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 I feel like no matter what, if we're black doing something that could be taken slightly wrong, or it's going to be labeled as that. But if it was a white girl doing something like this, she wouldn't be getting called ratchet and ghetto like this black girl is. I'm not saying she should be in the pool twerking for a video or whatever, but I feel like people are taking advantage of the chance to call people names. You know, the things like that just keep black people in a loop. That's what I'm not a fan of.
Okay, so let's take away the part of the comments in the video. Let's talk about the people that are in the background. As a parent, well, sorry, I'm not a parent, but if I could try to put myself in a parent's position and my girl is there and you're having a video of yourself twerking, no matter how old you are, that is not on the other people. But to start using the word racist, and no matter who you are, like, you can't just throw that word around, because that can start to bring repercussions. Because in today's age that we live in, you get saying someone says that you're racist, that could, really devastate things in your life, of whether like your job or this or that. Like, it might not have been true, but people will take things, put them on the internet and say whatever. But it's like, look, she is doing something that is a little bit kind of inappropriate, let alone if you're saying that she is younger than, maybe she should be doing this. You're putting yourself on camera. And for you to call someone racist because they are in the background of your video, clearly do not want to be in it, and they leave, well, that is no room for you to call someone racist. I don't think people understand what the word racist is anymore. All because I don't want to be in your video because you want to act like a little hoe, excuse my language. And the twerking wasn't as bad as, some twerking out there. But it's like, look, have a little respect for yourself. The thing is, what's wrong with this world, and I said it earlier, is that we have these things that's a phone. Just because you do something doesn't mean you need to post it online for the whole world to see. She was clearly just looking for someone to come to her aid and hopefully side with her. But that's my opinion on it. So if you're a parent, what do you do?
Yes, I'd like to get my kid out of that situation, but I love playing devil's avocado. I know I said that one. That's just how I
Devil's
do.
avocado? Never heard that one before.
I just think
Devil-
it sounds a little bit better.
Devil's advocate, but I get what you mean.
Yeah. I feel like twerking is inappropriate. It's an inappropriate dance, but it is a dance move nonetheless. And with social media and TikTok, supposed to be a kids app that was taken over by teens and young adults, like a lot of their dances just involve twerking. So
Yeah, but no matter how long or how many times you do something, it's like, if you tell a lie long enough, someone's going to believe it. And obviously, it's a different scenario. But if you do something long enough, eventually the world just assumes, like, oh, it's fine, it's okay. And little girls start to see that and believe, like, well, that's what everyone else is doing. That's what I'm going to do. Well, doesn't mean you should, let alone post it. I just kind of get, sick and tired with seeing all this crap on there. Like, that's one thing. If she was twerking or whatever. But the reason that I brought it up was because you're going to call this family who did nothing to you. The only reason we're pointing out something is that she said, look, you're white. You don't want to be in my video because you're taking my kids out because I'm doing something inappropriate. Well, now I think you're racist and I'm going to post it for the whole world to see. It's stupid. That's plain and simple.
Calling them a racist because they're a different race and they don't like what you're doing is wrong. Because like you said, that could destroy somebody's career. And like, even if it's clearly not something racist, just because a job doesn't want to be tied to having somebody at their company with that title, like you could destroy somebody's whole livelihood, and like it could be a chain reaction for the whole family. And it's just not something you should do. And people need to stop using that term racist so loosely because of the people that are actually dealing with racism and going through it still now today. Like, we need to be more respectful of others, I'd say.
Not only respectful of others, but it might be helpful to be respectful of yourself as well. But last thing I will say with this conversation is that, look, you had mentioned that the fact that black people sometimes grow up differently. We have to put this out there that we can't speak for everyone. Obviously, I can't speak for you. I grew up in a different type of area. I didn't grow up in most types of black communities. But with something of saying, because you're black, you're called ratchet, you're called the hoe, you're called this or that, you have to understand that, look, if you are going to continue to do things along this nature and then post it and put it on the internet, you have to be prepared for some of the blowback and maybe the nasty comments, whether you deserve them or not. You're setting yourself up for failure by putting a stupid video like this on there and then hoping that the whole world is going to come to your side and say, you were right. No, I don't think anyone can see this and say, yeah, I mean, that's totally in the right. Maybe someone does. If they do, I don't know what to tell them. But I just think in a situation like this, hey, have a little respect for yourself, know your surroundings, and say, maybe someone doesn't want to be in my video, so I can either ask them or I can go to a different spot with no one there. Do your own little thing. But when you do stuff like this and you put yourself on the internet, you have to be prepared for what may come, such as nasty comments. It is what it is, but you're putting yourself out there. Be prepared. It's going to happen. All I have left to say is, look, if you're going to post things on the internet, maybe think before you decide to hit that send button, or maybe get some advice from a parent, because I think that's what's wrong in this world is, you can't blame everything on the parents. And I don't know how old this girl is, but maybe we should start taking these phones away and deciding when an appropriate time and age is that they can handle, saying, you know what, you have the ability to put yourself out there, but let's try to make sure it's maybe educational or something that isn't going to harm another person's life with calling them a racist such as this. That's all I got to say on that subject. Let's move on. What is one thing people hate seeing more than anything if you are a fan of sports? How about you mix politics with it? Yeah, well, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is an independent presidential candidate and is expected to announce who his running mate and potential vice president will be coming up very shortly. Now, if I had to guess, I would have thought, someone with, I guess, I don't know, maybe a military background or maybe someone currently serving or has a recent resume in politics like Representative Tulsi Gabbard or Kentucky's Republican Senator Rand Paul or former presidential candidate Andrew Yang. And I'm not just saying that because guessing out of a hat. These were people on Kennedy's short list, according to The Hill, and reported on this. But no, Kennedy is reportedly considering New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers and former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura as his potential vice president picks, which is odd to say the least. As to why he would pick them, well, Ventura and Rodgers are both very free thinkers. They're someone who are unapologetic. Look, I said this. I'm not going to apologize just because you told me and the woke mob says I don't like what you have to say. But as for Ventura, he is unapologetic. And that's why a lot of people, I guess, like him. And he does have a resume that is, has a lengthy amount of things that he's accomplished. He was a Navy SEAL at one point. He was a bodyguard for some very prominent bands. He was a WWE superstar. And then, obviously, his governmental background is he was the governor of Minnesota. So part of me says and sees why maybe he would decide to maybe want to get him. But as for Rodgers, it's kind of, I guess, in my opinion, a little bit of a mystery because other than being in, I guess, commercials like Allstate and making guest appearances for Jeopardy, he's just, I don't know, a good football player. So why him? Well, Rodgers, I guess, has been very open and outspoken on the vaccine and I guess basically on several occasions where he was on the Pat McAfee show where he said a couple things like this.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now. So before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on so many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. I'm not, some sort of anti-vax flat earther. I am somebody who's a critical thinker. You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum.
Which, hey, he's his own man. I have no problem with him doing something like that. Who am I to say or judge what you do with your life? But I guess it was enough to spark interest for Kennedy to say, hey, what's going on, man? I think you would be a great potential pick as vice president, considering I'm not going to win anyways, but I'm going to take votes away from the Democratic and Republican Party. So let's have a go at it. So we will take a commercial break again, and we're going to hear from a few callers. One is going to be from Canada, and hear their take on it and what they think of how that mixes. Don't go away. Who do we have calling, and where are you from?
Hey, Hanky, it's Ryan from Nashville. How you doing?
Hey, Ryan, what's going on? How you been?
Not much, man. Not much. I've been good. Been good.
Awesome to hear. What's the topic you wish to discuss or give your opinion on?
Oh, man, I'd love to dive into this Aaron Rodgers thing going on right now.
All right, love to hear it. What you got?
I don't understand where we're going in this country right now. It's quite confusing to me, and especially in terms of, there's so much negativity in this world. There's so much black and white, wrong. There's just so much chaos going on, it seems like. And then you've got these candidates coming in and trying to shake things up by bringing in a non-traditional method by, a guy like Aaron Rodgers who has a following. He's a pro football player. He's never had any sort of affiliation in the government. And I'm just not really sure how to wrap my head around it. I mean, maybe I'm completely out of line, and maybe, they go and do great work. Maybe they get in there and they give the best 4 years that this country's ever seen. But I can't help but, look from the outside and keep in mind, I'm just a novice, right? I don't know all the facts. I don't know everything. But just from the general public eye of, not only a football fan, but somebody who cares about the future of this country, you can't help but look at what's going on, especially when you read these headlines. Aaron Rodgers, former MVP, Super Bowl champion, superstar quarterback in the NFL becoming a running mate and just not shake your head a little bit and just go, is this really happening? Am I going crazy? What's going on?
I think you're probably right, and probably with the majority of Americans, because the way that I look at this and kind of spoke about in the show was to say, hey, I think the only person that this is going to benefit, if this is supposedly a thing, is going to be RFK, because one, I think it kind of tarnishes Aaron Rodgers, I guess, legacy or whatever he is, and you can't take away all the accomplishments he's, already had. But the only thing that this is going to help is to say, okay, like you had mentioned, Aaron Rodgers has a following. So RFK hasn't necessarily been, plastered all over everything. So now it's like, well, how can I get my foot in the door, maybe into other segments? And what better way than to be on the NFL stage, the biggest of them all? So yes, it would help RFK out, but then again, going back to, he has no political experience other than, he's given, I guess, his point of view, like whether it be the vaccine, which they're kind of, aligned with, not taking it, wanting to do more research, so be it. I have no problem whether you want to take it or not, but that is over and said with. So yeah, it's very interesting. I think as a sports fan, it does turn you off to think like, man, if he's going to go the political route, because what? How is that going to work out if you're playing and trying to be on the campaign trail?
Right. And I think a lot of it comes down to, just people with power. And I don't necessarily mean power by they've got an army behind, they can push a button and launch an attack. Not that kind of power. I'm just talking about the kind of power of influence, which seems to be driving this country. The public opinion seems to be so important nowadays. I mean, if you don't have the public opinion on your side, whether you're right or wrong, it doesn't seem to matter. Facts seem to not matter as much as long as one side agrees strongly or stronger than the other side. Then that's all we need to move forward with a certain subject, whether that's politics, sports, even a little bit in the judicial system. It seems like nowadays. And I've listened to Aaron Rodgers speak a lot. He's a well-spoken dude. It seems like he's a very intelligent, smart man. He definitely knows a lot more than just the game of football. You can tell by just the way he speaks. But, everything that's going on in this country, I can't help but just wonder, why are we trying to shake things up now? And, again, I could be completely wrong. Maybe this country needs a shakeup. Maybe this is what seems crazy right now. Maybe this is how we get the ball rolling and get moving in a direction that's better for everybody, whether you're on left, right, up, down, across the street. I don't care what party you're for. We're all citizens at the end of the day. And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers could probably do as decent of a job as anybody, but I find it hard to believe that there's not a better candidate for the job. And like you said, it seems like it's more benefiting RFK just to have that big name behind him, pushing some younger voters towards that side of the spectrum. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where this all goes, even if it doesn't play out to anything.
So you kind of talk about younger voters. Like, what's your age? Are you under 25?
I am under 25, yes.
So with that being said, okay, we have RFK coming on the scene. He's something new. He's not running as a Democrat or a Republican. That's kind of the way that this world works. Yeah, there could be a Hail Mary and maybe an independent gets in, but it's never happened yet when it comes to the presidency. So you being as a young voter, or have you voted before?
I voted for one presidential election. That was Biden versus Trump.
Okay, so as a younger voter, between a Trump and a Biden, most likely re-election, going head to head, does that sway your vote at all? Seeing that, hey, here's a independent guy bringing in, a sports guy possibly.
I don't know. 2 weeks ago, I would have said absolutely not. Right? I would say there's no way. I know what I know. My parents raised me a certain way. I grew up in a certain culture. Everyone kind of has their own, reasons and beliefs for why they like this side. Some people like a little bit of both sides, which is perfectly fine. wherever you are. But going back to your question, 2 weeks ago, I would have said no. I know, but at the same time, here we are talking about the headline. So the fact that it's even got this much attention means that there are more than just a few people thinking about it and pushing it forward, trying to knock it down, trying to suppress it, trying to raise it up as the best option. So, for me personally, I just try and stay as wide open as possible and just hear both sides, see all the facts, and just make a judgment call based on what I think is the best. That's why we vote, because what I think isn't what somebody else thinks. And, what the two of us think together is not going to necessarily be the best thing for the country. So at the end of the day, we'll just have to see what happens. But it's clearly got some sort of weight to it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it.
You have a point there, Ryan, and I appreciate you calling into the show, and I look forward to you talking about many more topics along the way. So we got to go, but I appreciate you, and have a good night. All right? Thanks. Bye.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hanky.
If we live in a perfect world, let's just take a hypothetical here and say that Robert F. Kennedy was going to be president and going to look like he could, really take this home. And Rogers is going to be his VP. We're going to the voting. What exactly or how does this help out either of them? I think for a Rogers standpoint, we look at it as, okay, he's a football guy. He's good at it. But what else can Rogers do? A lot of times in the NFL, to us, people retire kind of young. Maybe late 30s, early 40s. So in a case like this, Rogers is done with football and maybe the commercials or whatever else isn't there, or maybe he still does that, but he wants something just a little bit more. And that may be politics. So maybe this gives Rogers a chance to say, you know what? I get to be on a national stage to show people, hey, I'm not just a guy who can throw a ball. I can do a lot more, and I can help this country out and have them, following someone who is for the American people. That's one way that I look at it. I don't know if that's true or not, but what comes after football? Maybe it is politics. And then as for Kennedy, I would say, look, Kennedy hasn't been getting maybe the broadcast that he hoped for. He can't even get Secret Service ever since that his father was assassinated, allegedly. No, I truly believe he was. But then again, we're not going to get into that. There's a bunch of conspiracy theorists around it. Anyhow, we're going off on a rabbit trail. With that, if you mix Robert Kennedy picking Aaron Rodgers as his VP, he's going to have a lot bigger base, an NFL network. Even though people say, I don't want to probably see that, he can tap into something that he would never have access to before. So there is something there for Kennedy. I don't really think there is anything there for Aaron Rodgers, but only time will tell. And then again, one has to ask himself, hey, how exactly can you balance football and being a VP? But then again, all I can say is the VP doesn't really do much anyways, unless you're Kamala Harris.
Poor hubby. Poor hubby.
Not
Why are you the way that you are?
So, hey, all I can say is if Kamala Harris can do it, obviously just about anyone can do it. But all I can say is good luck, Robert F. Kennedy, and can't wait to see what SNL will do with this. Kirko has left the building, and all for good reasons. Now, I love Kirk Cousins because if you watched the football documentary that he was in, he's just a very good dude, very humble and down to earth. And I'm from Michigan. He's from Michigan, was a Michigan State quarterback. So I always got to follow him and give my best for Kirk Cousins. But 6 years ago, the Minnesota Vikings signed Kirk Cousins in the hopes he would win them a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It didn't work out for a number of reasons. Cousins is leaving Minnesota for the Atlanta Falcons with just one playoff to his name, which is kind of sad, but hey, he tried his best. Things didn't work out. You move on. He started 88 games for the Vikings, which is the third most in their franchise history. As to why is Cousins leaving, well, I can't say I blame the guy. He's going to be making $180 million with $100 million guaranteed for 4 years. That's a very good payday compared to the Vikings 3-year, $84 million deal, which no matter who you ask, to a regular guy like me, that's an amazing payday. But on the Scott Van Pelt show, he spoke a little deeper on what exactly drew him there in the first place to the Atlanta Falcons.
As I look at Atlanta, I feel really good about the head coach, owner, general manager, and quarterback being on the same page. And that's really where it starts and ends. And from there, you look at a talented roster, you look at a great city to play for, you look at the fact that my wife is from Atlanta, and things just really aligned, and we're thrilled to be here.
Now, like I said before, to the regular guy like you and I, anything close to $1 million is a good payday. And to anyone saying, well, whatever happened to him claiming to be, stay for less money and to be loyal to the team, well, he's a 36-year-old and he's coming off an Achilles injury. He's done all that he can for Minnesota, but I personally think it's time for him to move on. Obviously, Minnesota did too. Kirk thought so too. The money probably helped, but besides that, he needs to go to a new fan base and have the Vikings see, I don't know, maybe what they, let go. But Kirk is still a human, and he did express the love that he still has for the Vikings.
Can't say enough good things about Kevin O'Connell and the difference he's made for me on and off the field. And, it is a difficult reality of this business. And so, we have a lot to look forward to here, but certainly was tough to say goodbye to Minnesota.
I think if you are a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, you've been ready and wanting something new for a very long time and hoping that, hey, let's give Kirk just a chance for once and see what he can exactly do. He's in a new environment, new teammates, and has a roster around him that has the potential to maybe do something this time. But you'll be happy to hear his future plans as long as you have a good fan base and a front office that is willing to not give him the boot.
When I signed this contract, my goal is to retire a Falcon. I want to be here for the rest of my career and play in such a way that I would earn the right to do that. And, I hope I have several more years, but I have no intention of needing to leave Atlanta.
All right. Once again, we're going to open up the phone lines and give a few callers a chance to speak on the subject and hear their opinion. So stick around. Hello and welcome into Honesty Unleashed with HUWHQ. Who do we have calling in and where are you from?
Hey, Hanky, it's Drew here, calling from Manitoba, Canada again.
Oh, we got you coming back from Canada. Good to have you back. Well, what's the topic you want to discuss now?
I saw you had a little bit of stuff going on with Kirk Cousins there you wanted to chat about.
Yeah, I personally love Kirk Cousins because I'm a Michigan boy and Kirk Cousins is from Michigan. So no matter what he does, I'm always going to stick by his side. But how does that have to do with you in Canada? Do you guys watch a lot of football over there, American football?
Yeah, I'm a big fantasy football guy, so I got a handful of leagues. So especially offensive stuff, I try to keep on top of. And how can you not like Kirk Cousins?
Oh yeah, he's just a great dude all around, very humble. But with that being said, is it a good thing that Kirk Cousins has left and went on to, I don't know if it's bigger and better, at least it is when it comes to the money, but did Minnesota make the right choice? And was the Falcons the right opportunity for him to go and be a part of?
Yeah, it's hard to say losing a guy like Kirk. I know people kind of hate on, the not having the playoff success and all that, but he's a quality NFL starter. He has been for a lot of years, and that's hard to come by. I think that the toughest part to see in Minnesota right now is what happens with Justin Jefferson. Can you promise him a future with the Vikings here? Can you rebuild fast enough that he's going to want to stay long-term, right? I'm not afraid to say that Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL. The guy is elite. But, walking into a season with Sam Darnold, I believe, as the QB, that's not really any wide receiver's dream, right?
No, I haven't heard anything about him until now.
Yeah. So, I hate to see Jefferson go somewhere else. I think watching him in Minnesota is huge. It's huge for the fans. But honestly, I think best for him is I would even just full rebuild, maybe shop Jefferson. I know people would hate to hear that. It might be a bit of a hot topic, but you got a great number 2 receiver right now in Jordan Addison. He showed flashes as the number 1 when Jefferson went down last year. And I think if you're starting this rebuild, if you're moving away from having a franchise quarterback that can lead people to playoffs, can win games, and just the grit that Kirk Cousins has, I think if you're moving away from that, you got to look hard at a full reset.
One last question on the Kirk Cousins thing. In a situation where he had spoken earlier wanting to stay with a team and saying, he'd be willing to take less money, how does that, I guess, have you think of him, considering it's like, well, he claims he was willing to stay with the team because it wasn't about the money, but yet he moves on to another place and they pay him basically almost double from what he was already doing or being paid with the Vikings. So does that change some people's view on him a little bit, or no?
I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I do think Kirk is a pretty genuine guy. Like, I'm watching the on like quarterback on Netflix. There, he was on that first season. He just seems like a really down to earth guy. But at the end of the day, he had 180 million reasons to not stay. Right? Like I think that's hard for anybody to turn down. Like, especially with the guaranteed money he's getting. That's huge for a quarterback at this stage of his career that he's in. Like, he's wrong side of 35 now, might have 2-3 good seasons left. Maybe he plays the 40. We see guys going later and later now, but I think it's tough to turn down a contract like that no matter what situation you're in.
As I said before, he's 36 years old. By the time his contract is up, he will be about 40 years old, and I can only hope that with the Achilles injury, he's only going to come back bigger and better, and I do hope he does well, comes out stronger than ever, and brings the city of Atlanta a Lombardi trophy. So what exactly is next for the Vikings? Well, as of right now, the team has found a potential successor. 26-year-old and former 49ers backup Sam Darnold has agreed to a one-year deal contract that could earn him up to $10 million. Will this be their, savior? Well, probably not, but I do respect the gamble in trying to do something new. Depending on who you ask, one of the most iconic figures in the history of boxing is lacing up his gloves at the age of 57, which no matter how you look at this, it is just very impressive. Iron Mike Tyson, who is feared probably throughout his entire career, will step into the ring and box an opponent, hear me out, just a few decades younger. Yeah, you heard right. His opponent is 27 and none other than once Disney star Jake Paul.
I threw a wish in the well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell.
And to some is known as a very, very successful YouTube sensation.
Neighbor from hell? Disney Channel star Jake Paul is accused of making life miserable for his neighbors in fancy West Hollywood.
And again, also depending on who you ask, he's, a singer/rapper that has racked up millions of views on multiple videos he puts out there.
Always plug merch link in bio, and I will see you tomorrow because it's every day, bro. Peace.
And now, most recently, if you followed him within the last few years, he's a boxing star who continues to knock out his opponents with brutal force.
Southern, this is what you time to time, just step into the
Which I've been asking myself multiple times, why would a kid like this, who's 30 years younger than one of the meanest guys in the ring, decide, hey, I want to fight this guy? One, he's got to be crazy. Two, I think when it comes to Jake Paul, he's hoping to earn probably the respect so many are failing to see, that, hey, I'm a real fighter and I don't appreciate people doubting my capabilities. I have had what it takes. I'm not scared. I'm about to, make my point clear and finally shut you all up, which is just my opinion, but I am not the only one weighing in on the topics.
Gets the edge.
Jake will beat him, but yeah, Mike could go with him.
You think Jake's gonna beat Mike Tyson, Chill?
Hey, Jake's the real deal.
Jake Paul is a mastermind. He knows how to go viral.
Yep.
He knows how to make things viral.
Yep.
But he wants to make Mike Tyson's death viral.
That guy will hurt you.
Yep.
If Jake Paul's on the other side of the ring and he sees Mike Tyson just bobbing and weaving, he's going to have a recognition.
In my opinion, it's kind of a lose situation, because if you win, critics will say, well, look, you should have beat a 30 years younger, boxer. But if you lose, unfortunately, it's still, I feel like he's going to be clowned to say, like, well, I don't know how you could fight someone like that. As for Mike, it's kind of hard to see why he's taking this fight, because I don't think he's out of money. I don't know him personally, but, there's statements and, Twitter and said, oh, Mike's broke and he needs, X, Y, and Z. He's been on different podcasts where I've watched and said, like, he's got investments. The guy's got money. He's not as poor as people assume and think. But I will have to say, maybe it's something to say, okay, here's a guy that hasn't boxed in quite a long time, but here's a kid who everyone is saying is, going to be a really good fighter. He's not someone to sleep on. So I think it's maybe maybe a redemption thing for Mike to come back out and say, look, I can prove my worth and I can beat someone 30 years younger than me. Not that I have anything to prove, but I'm ready to smash someone's head in and to show people, look, at 57 years of age, I've still got what I had when I was in the ring at 20 years of age. So I guess we're all going to have to wait and find out. I think it's going to be a very interesting fight, to say the least. But Jake Paul has been doing this for a while when it comes to, hey, how do I get those views? And of all things, he's going with Netflix, which is a very big platform with a lot of subscribers. But I respect it because Mike Tyson is a beast and hasn't exactly, in all these cases, going back to him working out and still being a beast, he hasn't withered away to nothing. Obviously, Tyson has been training, but he will never be just an average guy, no matter how old he is. I guarantee you at the age of 80, he's still going to be someone I would not want to mess with.
I'm just a fucking animal when it comes to life, fighting for my life. I love to fight.
It's a tough decision because Paul has really developed into a fun boxer. So I don't want to necessarily take one side or the other, but to see Tyson in his natural habitat will be pretty crazy to watch, considering I wasn't even around, but to see him during the peak of his career would have been amazing, but that time is over with. So I hope there is either a knockout by Tyson or it's just a brutal beatdown by the both of them to the end. Give the crowd something to watch. Don't do this hugging stuff. No one wants to see you do all that crap. Now, let's hear from a few more callers to end this segment and get a couple different opinions on the matter. Hello, welcome into the show, Honesty Unleashed with Hanky Q. Who do we have calling and where are you from?
This is Ivan Larson, and I'm calling from Sonora, California.
Alrighty, how's the weather out there?
It's beautiful today. Yeah, it's beautiful in California.
Awesome. Ivan, what do you want to talk about on the topics that I had discussed earlier?
I wanted to talk about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight that's coming up.
Alrighty, who you got, or what is your opinion overall?
Well, I definitely got Iron Mike Tyson for the victory for sure.
All right.
But the reason it's on my mind to talk about it is because I see a lot of people commenting about how this is ridiculous and that, Jake Paul should be ashamed of himself for challenging a 57-year-old man. And I don't agree with them. I don't agree with that.
So in a situation like that, I mean, I partly agree with you, but I partly have to say, okay, here's a kid, I guess, for, the purposes of media and what it does to him. He was a Disney star, and then he goes into being a YouTuber, and, he's kind of has the reputation for being, a bad boy and kind of a punk. And then, he starts getting into boxing and, he's, I guess, knocking people out left and right. In a situation like this, some of those fighters, yes, they've been boxing or in MMA, but they haven't necessarily been relevant or, constantly boxing all the time. And then here's a guy who's much bigger and stronger. I'll give it to him. He can box, but then you have him going against one of the most iconic guys, Iron Mike Tyson, and there's a 30-year age gap. He's 57. Jake is 27. It's like, what is the win for Jake if he does win? And then, what's the win or loss look like for a Mike Tyson? Because I find it very hard to believe, how does something like this go ahead? Because I saw a couple of podcasts where it's like Mike seems to be kind of tight with these guys. And then usually in a case like this, it's like, hey, I hate you. I can't, wait to knock you out in the first round. You're going but I personally don't feel like I've seen that from this. And I don't feel like there's going to be that knockout like supposedly we think and hope for it.
Okay, so when you see the bad blood and the grudges, that's usually for promotion's sake.
100%.
A lot of the beef, is just to promote. When you have a name like Mike Tyson and now Jake Paul, you don't need to do that. You don't need to build it up. Everybody's going to watch. But the reason why I think this is a great idea has to do with two things. The most important thing is that Mike Tyson has made a name for himself. I think he has a podcast, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. And over the years, people have come to see how wise of a soul that he really is. And I saw him break down and cry because he felt like He's a warrior, and he has no war. And I feel like this is the first time in years that he has a reason to become again what he was meant to be. I feel like this sings to the nature of his soul of he wants to be a warrior, but he needed a challenge. He needed an opponent. And Jake Paul gave him that. That's the first reason why I think this is amazing.
So do you think if no matter, well, let's say Jake, for instance, wins this, he has kind of the overall respect from the boxing community and then even from some of those haters?
He's never going to get the respect from the boxing community. He's never going to get it. It doesn't matter who he fights. He's never going to get it because the boxing community, you can talk to all the major promoters, but, you know, Dana White and Joe Rogan, those are two guys who know a lot about boxing. He's never going to get it unless they have some control over him and they can fix his outcome. He's never going to get the respect from the boxing community. It's never going to happen. Now, individual fighters on a case-by-case basis, I've already seen examples of fighters that respect what Jake Paul's doing. Over time, it's grown and grown. But boxing in general, unless they can control him, unless they can make a profit off him, they're never going to give him the respect.
Well, he's definitely impressed more people than I think they assumed, considering his background, and he's obviously put in the work, and it's not just like some guy that's trying to earn another fast buck. But then again, I mean, it's Jake Paul, his brother Logan Paul, like they know how to get the views and, you know, the clickbait and all that type of stuff. Obviously, this is a different situation. But the last question I'll have for you is, does this tarnish Mike Tyson's, I guess, legacy if he was to get beat by Jake Paul?
Absolutely not. He's 57 years old. It's an exhibition match, you know. But when you were talking about the money side of things, that's the second reason why I think this is a great idea. Okay, you can say what you want. People can say what they want about Jake Paul, but one thing he is known for is financially taking care of whoever he has deals with. You know, from Rashad Evans to the female MMA fighters, where he, you know, Jake Paul's had some beef with Dana White talking about paying the people, paying the employees, paying the fighters properly. The MMA fighters, the female MMA fighters, I believe Amanda Nunes was one of them. When he did deals with them, they got paid more than they've ever been paid. Rashad Evans, I think, he might have fought him twice. I don't know. He paid him very well. And I know that he's going to pay Mike Tyson very well. So not that he needs it, but it's an excellent payday. He's known for definitely financially taking care of the people that he does business with. And I'm impressed by that. That's the second reason why I'm impressed by Jake Paul.
Well, hey, man, I appreciate you calling in all the way from California. It was good to hear your perspective. I respect it. So thanks, Ivan.
I love what you do, Hanky. Keep working hard, brother.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Hanky, it's Drew here.
Where are you from?
I'm calling in from St. Anne, Manitoba, Canada.
Oh, wow. Canada. Awesome. So, Drew, what are you calling in about, and what would you like to discuss?
I saw your options for the show there, but I'm looking into the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, and then some thoughts on Kirk Cousins as well.
All right, let's start with the Jake Paul fight and Mike Tyson. Who you got and why you got that person?
I mean, if I had to take someone, I think it's Jake Paul. He's younger. He's been putting the time in. I know that everyone's kind of counting him out in a lot of fights, but he's showing that he does know what he's doing. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody really wins here. I think it's just, it's gotten to the point. Mike Tyson's not going to have rules that allow him to have this kind of blemish on his record after such a legendary career. So I think it's going to be probably a bit of a sleeper again, more of just a fight to make money for both of them. But, if it's going to the scorecards, I think Jake Paul might do enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very strange because I see something like this and it kind of looks more of like a money grab because you have Mike Tyson, who is, very iconic and, one of the greatest fighters when it comes to boxing. And I seen him on several different podcasts, basically saying, how much like the Paul brothers were like family to him. And then you have Jake Paul now coming and acting like, I don't know, a lot of it I feel is for clout, etc. But I just feel like there's not really a win-win situation because one, you have Mike Tyson, who is, just a great boxer. He's like a killer when it comes to being in the ring. I still think that he has that old man strength and that he's someone that I would not want to mess with no matter how old he is. Yes, he's 57. Jake Paul is 27. There's a 30-year age gap there, but it's just a weird and interesting fight. But I guess last but not least, who did you say you're going to go with? Most likely Jake Paul?
Yeah, I got to take the youth at some point. It's always Mike Tyson. Like, the guy, you don't want to get hit by Mike Tyson ever. But I don't know that they're going to be swinging to put lights out. I think it's going to be more of a showcase for the two of them.
What is the win if Jake Paul wins? Like, in like the big picture, like what does that do for his record or I guess his reputation?
I think the win for him, it's another, a lot of his stuff, like he's been starting to fight like quote unquote real boxers, professionals, although they're just kind of journeyman guys. But I mean, if you know boxing, if you don't know boxing, if you know anything, you know Mike Tyson, right? Like having a win, whether it be just in however this fight goes. But if you have a W against Mike Tyson, that still means something in boxing to me, even at his age, even like where he's at right now. But I mean, the promotional value alone for Jake Paul there, that's huge money-making opportunity for him, I think, future going on. I mean, it's not going to get him a step closer to, he's looking for the Canelo Alvarez and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that puts him in that direction, but it's definitely monetary-wise, I think it's a big step. My name is Ali. I'm calling from Jacksonville, Florida.
Alrighty, Ali, what are you calling into the show about?
The whole Jake Paul and Mike thing.
Okay, what's your opinion? You for it, or who do you got?
That's tough.
Well, what were you gonna? What did you want to discuss?
Well, because I'm tired, because I'm a fan of Jake, so I'm tired of people saying that he's not a real boxer because of everything and the people that he's fought, whatever. But he is a real boxer, but at the same time, going up against Mike I don't know, because he's still not in his prime, but he's still
a bad dude.
Yeah, he's still Iron Mike.
So does that mean who are you for?
I'm for Mike.
Oh, okay. So in a situation where Mike loses, Jake loses, Jake wins. Okay. If Jake wins, what is your reaction? What does that do for Jake?
That's got to solidify him. He's been putting in the work with all these countless people. That's got to give people, because they see the videos of him in the gym. He's in the gym and his boxer's going crazy. So, I know people have seen it. And if Jake beats him, that's got to show them that Jake is a true boxer and that he knows what he's doing when he's in the ring.
Maybe, but can't you see a little bit of the other side to where it's like, yes, there's a 30-year age gap. Yes, Mike is still a bad dude, but at the same time, Jake hasn't necessarily tried to, fight people that are relevant, that are still in the boxing ring, doing it every single day. He kind of keeps taking these people that have maybe been out of it for a minute and then wants to go toe-to-toe with them. Yeah, there's still people in their boxers, but it's like, I've just been trying to figure out why he hasn't been calling out some of these other guys that are very, doing it all the time.
I don't know if it's because the whole YouTube boxer thing and a lot of those people don't want to do it, or I'm not entirely sure why. But look at the record of the people that he has fought. A lot of these people are pretty good fighters, I'd say.
Ben Askins.
Yeah, Ben was. Yeah, that's it. But,
so are you going to be betting on the fight?
I don't know, because honestly, the only thing that scares me is Mike can still move and throw punches, but has he been getting hit lately is my thing. And if he hasn't been getting hit
he hasn't been in a fight other than, I think it was an exhibition or whatever, or like a charity fight. So I wouldn't really consider that, I guess, the real deal. Yes, he was out there, fighting, but it wasn't like, hey, we're in this for blood. So I don't really say that he's been, fighting professionally for quite a while.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I want Mike to win, because, like, I do a little bit in the ring as well. So it's like, you can't get into boxing without, looking up to somebody. And that's why I want Mike to win, but he's been out of the game for a while. And it's just not being hit in a while is what might give Jake that upper edge.
I just hope it's a good fight altogether, all around. But when it comes right down to it, obviously, for people that know who Jake Paul is, okay, yes, he is a very good fighter, and he's kind of proven that with his workouts and not necessarily the people that he's been fighting. Yes, he's strong, he's big and tall, but for the people that do not like him, obviously they want Mike Tyson, Iron Mike, to just lay him out. But there are a lot of people that would be like, oh, it would be kind of cool to see Jake, obviously, take a win. But I don't know. That's a hard and tough situation, but I do appreciate you calling into the show. The event will take place at the AT&T Stadium, which is going to be in Arlington, Texas, boasting an impressive 80,000 seat capacity and serving as the home ground for the NFL's Dallas Cowboys, owned by billionaire Jerry Jones. You watch it, I watch it, other countries watch it, and for years, this particular industry has raked in billions of dollars off athletes in the world of college sports, and it used to be taboo to accept gifts like cars, clothing, houses, but out of it all, you were not supposed to take money under any circumstances, or there could be consequences if caught. Although it's just my opinion, of course, people were. They just wouldn't say it out loud or admit it. For example, Reggie Bush, who drew in millions of TV viewers and tens of thousands of fans to stadiums across the nation, which eventually won him a Heisman Trophy, was not allowed to capitalize on his name, which would have made him thousands, if not millions of dollars, no questions asked, after an investigation was done and said to have found sports agent Lloyd Lake and business partner Michael Michaels had given Bush lavish lifestyles that included hotel stays, a rent-free home for his family, a limousine ride, and a suit for the 2005 Heisman Trophy ceremony. Well, once this all came to light, Bush was no longer recognized as a Heisman Trophy winner, and the college he attended suffered major sanctions for a number of years, which I gotta tell you, is pretty crazy to think considering what is happening now. Because if you fast forward to July 1st, 2021, the NCAA Board of Directors passed an interim NIL policy that allowed students like Bush in years past, athletes in all 50 states to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Which I got to tell you, as a result, we have already seen multiple athletes sign deals with life-changing implications, and I'm not against it, but obviously with the NIL change, it is a little bit different and has benefited some athletes drastically. But I think there is this common misconception with, I guess, most thinking, hey, I'm on TV, I play for a Division I college, so I must, be well on my way. Well, I think we have all been, guilty of seeing someone's social media and probably assuming that, they have money, which I don't think is always the case because I'm not in their position, but in the article that I'm kind of alluding to is that a guy by the name of, a writer by the name of James Fregosa at the Pro Football Network, he wrote and I guess was basically quoting Reggie Bush, was earning more than $1,000 in scholarship funds. He also stated that after rent, basically Reggie Bush said, he was left with under $300 for food and gas for literally the rest of the month, which isn't a lot. Even if you're not working and don't have like a ton of bills, $300 is really hard to live off of. You can do it. But anyways, in the same interview, Bush explained how the NIL rule would have impacted him, which I don't think anybody would deny. Fregosa goes on to quote Bush saying, it would have made things a lot less stressful because it's stressful when you're trying to figure out, hey, how am I going to eat? What am I going to eat when the cafeteria has closed? Now, to actually get to the point of why I actually brought this whole thing up, well, as you all know, Nick Saban, who recently was the head coach of Alabama, weighed in on the NIL situation by giving a speech on Capitol Hill, which at one point during the speech, I kind of agreed with him for the most part.
We've worked so hard for the last 20 years to improve graduation rate, to improve health care for players, to have mental health care for players, all the things that we work so hard to improve on. we're going to start seeing slide in the wrong direction because we've created an environment that really does not promote personal development or that is going to create success for their future.
As he went on further in his speech, it had a lot of people asking, such as myself, why did he retire? I mean, one would assume, hey, after 50 years of coaching some of the top tier athletes in the country, it was time to take off the headset, put down, the playbook, and I guess just enjoy life with his family outside of the stadium, the hustle and the bustle. But as he continued his speech, he shared a story him and his wife had that paints a picture and I guess pushes fans like myself to ask, is this part of the reason he decided to retire?
She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people. And that's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL, is because you had the opportunity to develop young people. So, and I want their quality of life to be good. I think, as I said before, name, image, and likeness is a great opportunity for them to create a brand for themselves. I'm not against that at all. But to come up with some kind of a system that still can help the development of young people, I think is paramount to the future of college athletics.
If I'm Nick Saban or any coach for that matter in this industry, it would be tough to say, I think it would be hard to coach kids that are getting paid compared to an athlete who's solely there to say, hey, I have no incentive than to want to play for one of the coaches that are, one of the best and the best out teams in the country that are here to do everything they can to hopefully get me to the NFL one day. But I also think that this might cause division on the team, because imagine if you have someone who is, one of the best quarterbacks or running backs, and then all of a sudden they're getting paid a lot of money, but hey, we're both there for practice. We're both having to put in the same amount of time. We both have to go to school. We both have to turn in X, Y, and Z, but yet you're getting NIL deals and I'm getting nothing over here. I would have to say, it would be tough for me to want to put in as much effort as the guy who's actually getting paid. And even though I'm doing just the same amount of work, because there is no I in team, but there is going to be people that would rather seek out maybe another person because, look, you were here because you're a much better player than this person. But there's so many things around this that I say, okay, as a coach, it seems like it's a little bit hypocritical to think, okay, hey, man, you are getting paid millions of dollars while these kids have a lot of struggles and things on their plate to say, hey, you got to go to school. You got to be in the weight room. You got to be going to practice. You're on the road all the time. You have the fans that you have to, I guess, hopefully not to say impress, but like you have an obligation in a way, because it's like fans are brutal. They're expecting you to win and go out there and represent us. And if you don't do that, it can be tough and daunting on a college student. Mind you, yes, they're there and they have, maybe a full ride scholarship, but some of them are walk-ons. But what I'm trying to get at here is I do get it to where you're trying to instill in them and want them to have a future. But if you're going to be making millions, if not billions off of these players, it's only fair that they get a cut of the pie.
Thank you for watching a Yes Sirski production. And don't forget to like and subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes Sirski!